Do you know what we're doing? We're breaking the goddamn illusion of 2 episodes because we are not changing our clothes at all.
Yeah, well, there's never much of an illusion to begin with. That's why I wasn't too worried about it. Because we
But-
usually just launch into the second episode doing exactly what I said we shouldn't in the beginning, which was talking about what was just in the previous episode.
Yeah, but it's all about being professional.
Like, I mean, I can take my shirt
so-
off if that's what we want to do and just...
It's being professional. As a tech guy walks through the
It is
Right.
after dark
Background.
right now.
What's that?
We could do at the buzzer. We could do a Team Objection after dark. Let's do it.
I mean, I think that would help viewership or hurt.
Yeah, I don't think that's after dark. I think that's like a BuzzFeed article where you're like, check out these dad bods. And especially the guy
Only
on the
one of
bottom.
us is a dad, though.
Right. That's the only issue. I mean, I think there's a lot of this that could work, and there's a point at which when we do this more that we might end up doing this on Twitch, and then we have their guidelines to follow, which means no shirtlessness.
So should we go shirtless now then?
While we can, I mean, maybe.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm ready.
I could put on a white undershirt and get it wet. No? Okay.
What is the
It's
difference?
It's not nudity then. It's just, you know.
The wet T-shirt.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, but your skin is already translucent. So what's the point?
Yeah,
Valid point. You make a very valid point, sir.
that's fair.
Dave, I don't know if America knew just how ginger you are, especially in this lighting.
This lighting does make me look a lot more redheaded, but
I did not know. I didn't know you were a ginger. But right now, the ginger is strong with you.
well, you treated me like one.
Yeah, well, I'm subconsciously onto something.
I'm going to make the
So-
most obscure reference, but when you were covering up your beard and you only had mustache, you looked like Lonnie from Scrubs. And I'll let
He was a
people
really good basketball player.
I'll let people Google that if they care, but it's actually kind of close. And I was like, I recognize this from somewhere, and I finally put it together about halfway through the last episode.
He's a rapist.
Yes, and
No,
and then,
he was.
and then there's
not.
Lonnie. So we have Dave on again, and we're gonna go give him the chance to put things into the time capsule. Now we've been on a bit of a roll recently. Things have been making it in at record pace, and this one I think has at least one candidate that's going to. But now Michelle doesn't get a say. She's not here. She went to Mexico. She's out of the country. So as far as I'm concerned, her say doesn't mean anything.
Will historians dispute this?
No.
Oh. I
mean, it's
didn't
not
know
like
you're
you're
just
pulling
going
a
to know
rando.
off the top of your head.
No. Why would
okay.
they? David was here for like the first, I don't know, 25, 30 things that went in. I think he's more of an authority on the record than anybody else is.
I mean, that's comforting. I
Except you
guess.
and me, who didn't leave. But, you know, other than above Michelle, Dave is definitely the next one up.
I mean, look, we
Ow,
have our
I'm
priorities
trying
straight.
to pull the knife out of my back that you just stabbed in there subtly.
A knife of fairness.
Yeah, a knife that you basically stabbed yourself with. Don't blame us
I
for
had
your. Don't blame
I had
us,
a good reason.
Dave, for having bad priorities like family and fatherhood when you could have been doing the show the whole time.
Yeah.
You could have been doing the show
gotta-
the whole time. Don't
I
roll your
realized
eyes.
in my life, man.
Don't look away.
I'm
Look
staring
at
up
me.
Confront the truth.
up into the space.
So, I wanted to do two things. Number one, we did a Disney tournament a few weeks back, and then we eventually ended up going to Milan and deciding if it was, like, worthy. And unsurprisingly, it completely was. So I want to do another
I
Disney
do have
movie.
beef with that.
What?
Sorry, I have beef with that. And Mulan has not been a favorite of mine.
Too goddamn bad. You had your chance
Sorry.
last episode.
I mean, what would you have scored it? Just now. I'm not worried about back then.
6.5 or 7?
So it would have made it in anyways. Great.
Yeah, I guess so.
But
I
we
mean,
also
winning the whole
rated it
Disney
on number
tournament.
number one film.
Number
In
one
our
Disney and
bracket.
Pixar film. I definitely would have picked others. So
Yeah, that might have affected the outcome, too. Who knows? Maybe you liked Incredibles more than me and Michelle did.
no, I didn't.
All right, well, there you go,
I
Shaun.
liked
Your
it.
dream is dead. So anyways,
Well, I would have picked Toy Story 3. So there.
well, I think... Well,
That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that was our runner-up, so there's really no shame in that.
Yeah.
This week we're tackling another one of the 90s movies. Almost all the 90s movies are pretty much perfect for this segment because they all fall into the nostalgia flavor and they all kind of fit this timeline of when we were all kids. And the one I want to do today is Aladdin. So we just recently had the Aladdin World in our Kingdom Hearts playthrough, which will be airing as we speak this week on the YouTube channel, the ones we just recorded with Michelle in town.
Aladdin surprisingly Spanish.
Aladdin
I did
was
not remember
surprisingly
that.
Spanish. The carpet was surprisingly goofy. And if that sentence doesn't make any sense to you, I advise you tune in and watch to figure out what the fuck I'm talking about.
That's a good idea.
All right, then. So I think Aladdin was the first Disney movie of that era that I really watched. Like, saw in theater and, like, watched on repeat on video. I know a lot of people probably broke in with Little Mermaid, but Aladdin was the one for me. And nostalgia is very high with this one for me.
Little Mermaid is a little young for us. It was 89, tail end of 89, which means Dave and I are 4. Shaun is 2. And if we did see those in theaters, I might have been taken to it, but I have no memory of it one way or the other. If anything, that was probably just an excuse to get my mom a chance to go to the theaters and just drag me along where I would probably like sleep. But yeah, I think Aladdin was the first one I saw in theaters as well. I ended up seeing Beauty and the Beast not too long after when it came direct to VHS from the Disney Vault. But Aladdin I saw in theaters, and it was pretty damn good.
It was good. I don't like how Aladdin is an ass, and we talked about this. I also had my copy of the film. A friend borrowed it, and I got it back, and this was like the VHS tapes, and it was just like ruined. It was like you play it, and it was like it looked like they bootlegged something and then gave me the bootleg back. But it was awful. It was like grainy, and like the film would slide, and I was like, "What did you guys do to my movie?"
You have no idea how comforting it is to know that I can leave for 30 episodes and come back and Shaun's still complaining about his terrible childhood. Like, it is so comforting to know.
I mean, some things were hard. And when Aladdin was one of my favorite movies, and then somebody ruins it so I can't even watch it anymore, that's hard.
Yeah, that's tough.
So a lot of the things I liked about that movie, though, were, when I was a kid especially, like, Robin Williams was just this aura, this presence, this, like, just this thing that you couldn't control as the genie. And it was so much fun. I didn't get any of the references that he ever did, and I still loved every second of it as a kid.
Yeah, you made a habit of that in your life, not getting references. That's okay. By this point, we know you're not going to grow out of it, so what can we do?
Did I open that up for you? Did I just put that on a tee for you and smack it out there?
I mean...
Yeah, but I mean, even if you don't get any of the references, he's doing like a million voices. He's got this manic energy. He's off the wall. So as a kid, you're like, that's great. And
changing
it was weird.
Into animals and...
Yeah, I mean, he's got all these different forms he can take. And for me, I was a kid, of course, so the only things I had seen him in were essentially Hook, Aladdin, and Mrs. Doubtfire. And if you come to find out later on, it's like, oh, he's actually this kind of foul-mouthed comic who's, he's got the same energy when he does a stand-up, but everything he says has nothing to do with kids. You go, oh, that's very different, interesting, but not what I expected when I was a kid.
The anachronisms bothered me a lot as a kid. I was like, great, now I can't even enjoy this because he's talking about airplanes, and that wouldn't have been an Agrabah.
He's doing a Rodney Dangerfield joke. Can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug. And it was 2,000 years ago or whatever.
And now you can maybe get around it by saying, well, he's a genie, so maybe, he can...
It's a kid's movie, so maybe...
Well, there's also this whole theory that Agrabah is actually in the apocalyptic future.
There's
a theory out
I've
there.
never
I
heard
haven't
this
heard
theory.
that either. That's interesting.
Did you just make up this theory, and you're like, oh, there's this theory, pretty well circulated.
So you can probably Google it, but yeah, there's a theory that essentially Agrabah is an apocalyptic future, and like the carpet and the genie are remnants of like a technologically advanced society, and that's why they exist and can use all these old references, even though it seems like they're from the future.
Maybe because there's nothing outside of Agrabah.
Well, I was gonna say, remember when they get like teleported and it's like a snowy wasteland?
There's no society outside of Agrabah. You look and there's just desert as far as the eye can see, and then there's this, again, like you mentioned, this snowy place that Carpet has to fly back from. And I mean, he goes around the world.
How far that is.
He goes around the world in a whole new world and sees other spots, but those could easily just be, again, like they're just landmarks. There's nothing about people. There's like one dude breaking the Sphinx's nose. I don't remember. I don't think there's any other people, but that's just top of my head. I don't know.
So anyway, I think it's a dumb theory because everything out there has a theory nowadays. It's like, can you believe this character was dead the whole time? Or that type of thing. I like
that.
So,
I always click on those.
I think they're interesting. I think most of them are not very good. There are some that are good.
The theory that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith.
I like that one just in its ridiculousness.
I can't. After watching Phantom Menace again recently,
no.
There's not a lot of compelling. It's like, see, he was on the bridge in this shot, and now he's on this side. And I was like, so you're telling me, more likely than a continuity error, he used the Force to just kind of swing over here for no reason at all?
And every time he talks, he moves his hand. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, but he also like slobbers everywhere and uses racist stereotypes. Does that mean
That
he's a
doesn't
Sith,
support
too?
my theory.
Yeah, but the
Does
thing
not
is,
support my theory.
people are willing to go along with that because they want to make something out of nothing, which is what Jar Jar is. He's
Yeah.
nothing or worse than nothing. So people are like, oh yeah, like let's just do mental gymnastics to make anything of this, please. Whereas like we could take something good like Aladdin and be like, it's a dystopian future, and you're like, I don't really need that to further my enjoyment of Aladdin.
I read an interview from the guy who played Jar Jar on one of those clickbait articles.
He's so
By the way,
defensive.
he's like, that ruined my career. I was
believe
like,
it.
my career, I was Jar Jar, and my career was over before it started. He was like, I was looking at the end of my career, and he was like, there was a lot of pain and anguish and regret. It was a very dark time for me. I was like, damn.
Was it the same voice actor and actor, or was it two different people?
I think it was the same because
Okay.
they had a thing where he's with Liam Neeson, and he has like he's the guy, and then he has like Jar Jar like plastic head on top of his head.
Ooh,
I was like, yeah, that must have not been
that
weird
was
to
it.
act with.
Yeah.
That was it. So, order for
Aladdin.
scores, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So I would give Aladdin back then a 9.5. There was a couple weird things that, like, even as a kid, I was kind of like, that's weird. He's going into a house where all these girls are half dressed, and why doesn't anyone like him? It's just there's a couple things back then, even as a kid, I was kind of like, that's weird. But overall, I loved it. I watched it on repeat, so 9.5.
But now that you're an adult, you know exactly why they didn't like him because he's
exactly.
trash, and
He had
you
no
make
money.
more in a week than he does in his whole year, and therefore he's not fit to scrub your shoes.
Yeah.
Yes,
He agreed.
That's exactly
He agreed, ladies and gentlemen.
He is a street rat, and I don't buy that.
right.
I would give it a 9 back then. It was one of my favorites as a kid. I liked it more than Lion King. I liked it more than Beauty and the Beast. And even as a kid, I might have liked it more than Mulan. That has changed since then. But I don't know. I had a couple of little things that weirded me out then, too. And maybe it was just as a kid. I'm like, what the hell? The fact that Jafar could, like, mind control people, but he only used it on, like, the Sultan and then tried to on Jasmine and it didn't work. And I'm like, so what? Is it just because the Sultan's stupid then? Or shouldn't he be doing this to, like, everybody? Like, the guards he could have used it on. The guards were idiots. So that was kind of weird. It's like, what does the staff do and why does it not work sometimes? I don't know. Little,
What
like,
was the
tiny
Sultan's
things.
deal?
What's that?
Like, he was a complete. What was the Sultan's deal? He's a complete idiot. Like, he is not fit to run a country.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think he was voted in during the last election, Dave.
No, I understand, but like, man, like, especially at the very end, he's like, man, there's this rule that was the whole basis of this plot. Screw it, we're done. Forget
Yeah,
about
that was
it.
cute though.
That rule's shitty anyway.
But when you look at Agrabah, it looks like a country that has socioeconomical problems. I mean, look at how
It
Aladdin
does.
had to start out because the leadership of the Sultan is shitty and he should be overthrown.
Yeah, but it's the only country left in the whole world. I expect them to have a few problems, Chris.
I'm just saying, vote for Jafar 2946.
Okay, I mean that's fair.
I mean, he's burned in the genie, in a lamp in the lava in the next movie. So I don't know if you can really vote for him, but you can try.
Yeah. I love
Right,
Jafar,
maybe.
by the way. One of my favorite
Yeah.
Disney villains because he's evil, but he has such a delight in what he's doing all the time. It's kind of why I like Ursula, too, because they seem to delight in doing things that are bad, and I like that in a villain.
Yeah, he had that scene where he's getting dragged out after they discovered he's evil. He's getting dragged out, but he sees the lamp and he just loses his mind, just starts laughing. It always made me laugh along with him as a kid.
Yeah, and then Iago has to, like, Earth to Jafar!
And he grabs him by the throat, and yeah, it's all. Iago, I didn't even mention Iago, how funny that was, even as a kid. So,
I didn't
Good
like
stuff.
the anachronisms,
oh jeez.
and I didn't like how everything was just given to him. I had a big problem with the middle of the film. I didn't like, and there was something about how he tricked the genie that I didn't like, and I don't remember what
The
it.
wordplay on the first wish.
Yeah, and I was like, if I were the genie, I wouldn't give that to you, actually. So,
Because he did, that gave him the ability to be free at the end. He would have ran out of wishes when the genie saved his life.
I mean, yeah.
But does the end justify the means?
Exactly, Dave.
He's free, yes.
Dave, if you break into someone's house to rob them and you see that there's a fire and you alert them and then ultimately save their lives, does that make it okay that you broke into their house? The answer is clear. I don't know why you're thinking
Yes.
about this.
No, it's not okay to break into the house.
thank you.
But actually, that's funny because the way they portrayed that, especially in the Return of Jafar, the genie pretty much kept all his powers. I would have just wished him free the first wish. I'm like, dude, how about you just hang out with me and then we'll be good.
Well, yeah, but you don't know that. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
they
guess
developed
not,
a
but-
bond, but
Yeah. it was just funny how he kept all his powers. It's like, well, I guess I didn't need to worry about wishes because now you can just give me whatever I want.
Yeah, but he's weaker.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a lesser version of him, but he can still seem to do a lot. Maybe not the grand scale stuff he could do in the first one. It's really unclear, and we don't want to talk about Return of Jafar.
Okay.
Yeah, you can talk about the King of Thieves a little bit. A little bit.
Man.
The turtle was cool.
I don't even remember the turtle.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shaun, what's your score?
Suck it. Wait, what?
What's your score?
Oh. Well, I wasn't done telling all my problems yet.
Oh.
I had a problem with things just being given to Aladdin. I wanted Aladdin to like earn it, and that's the whole conceit of the film is he's getting a wish. But I was like, no, you have to work. I want it to be like Count of Monte Cristo, not like
he earns it by virtue of being poor and downtrodden for his entire life before that point.
Yeah, that's not earning it. You could say he didn't do enough to change the situation. I mean, 8.5. I mean, I really.
And you thought about all these things back then when you watched this when you were 8. No, I'm sorry, 6.
No.
6,
so
you were worried about Aladdin's socioeconomic status and whether or not it earned the
no. I mean,
the denouement.
Not to that level, but like even as a kid,
It's just still noticeable to kids. Yeah.
Well, like so, I'm all like Dragon Ball Z. You got to train to beat your nemesis. And I also have a problem with movies where like they're like people train and they fight, and the good guy like is outclassed, but then finds like a trick to win. I don't like that either. I'm like, but you didn't win. You failed, really. Anyways, this is all.
You won.
8.5.
So does he redeem that at the end at all because he doesn't have the lamp anymore and he has to like make do and he tricks Jafar and he skates on a rock somehow.
I love skating on the diamond.
Yeah, there you go, diamond.
That is like the scene from my childhood.
And then stabbing the snake with that marginal effectiveness because it didn't really do anything to him.
Right, with cheerleader Genie making some kids very confused.
Yes, yeah, cross-dressing.
I don't know if he's attractive. He shouldn't be attractive.
Because that was Aladdin just being Aladdin and doing his own thing to save the day. No genie, no magic carpet, no Abu.
But that's what he does in the beginning when he gives those kids food.
Yeah, and that was I like the
so
bookends.
It's just the middle when he's got the genie, which again we've kind of talked about is like what almost anybody would do given a sudden influx of power like that. Of course, it would go to your head.
Yeah. Well, there's that, and we talked about that too.
Yeah.
And as a kid, that bothered me a lot. We'll see, Chris, if that changes.
Solid 9 between the three of us is not bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But now,
it's
been 25 years now.
I don't want to go first. I just went.
Well,
you go,
okay.
Fear.
Okay. All right, I'll go. Now, I still really like it, and it's fun nowadays, actually, because I watch this now with my kids, and so I see them watching it without understanding all of the jokes that I get now, but it's still a lot of fun, so now I would probably get 8.5. It's still a lot of fun. Honestly, Jafar, I like Jafar even more now than I did back then because he's clever and I appreciate that. And I know Gilbert Gottfried from other stuff now, so I like what he's done and his voices. So yeah, 8.5 now.
Do you allow your kids to watch Aladdin before or after brainwashing them with VeggieTales?
I've never once let them watch VeggieTales. That's the dumbest thing.
Are you indoctrinating your children, Dave? In any
way? How am I
way?
indoctrinating them?
I'm proud of you.
Why would I do that?
You can indoctrinate them to love the Suns, though. That's okay.
I am doing that. Anytime the Suns have been on, I definitely grab Alex and put him on my lap and go, see, that's Daddy's favorite team. We have to root for them.
Cookies.
Right. Because nothing on the screen is going to be interesting to him. We suck.
Well, and then my daughter didn't talk now. She looks at the screen and says, Daddy, which color are you rooting for? The team in purple, Caitlin.
And she's like, purple team, shitty.
There has been a few times when the Suns have been losing, and she goes, "Oh, boo, they're losing."
Yeah,
like yeah,
I would boo them too.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Even a child understands how terrible we are.
Yep.
So what was your score? Was what? Or
8.5.
did you not? 8.5. Okay. All right. Did it go down?
Yes.
Yes, it was 9.5 before.
Okay. Chris.
Oh, you get to go last both times.
Yes, please.
I'll
go.
You think you're the director of the show now, huh?
No.
I'll go second. I don't care.
No. I know you don't care. I want to go. You're right. I'm all about equity. So,
but as long as you're big enough to be the person to go second, then by all means go.
Exactly. Let this be written in stone. The Legend of Shaun. I will give it probably a 9 because I was gonna say 8.5 again. because certain things that bothered me kind of went away. I don't have as much of a problem with the middle of the movie, and it actually lasts like 10 minutes. It's really not a long time.
Yeah, he's really not a bitch for very long.
No. But then I was going to say, but then the things I really liked kind of went down a little bit, but that's not really true either. So if anything, just some of my problems have sort of gone away with time. And yeah, so it's kind of gone. I think it's a great movie. And him skating on the diamond is just as satisfying now as it was when I was 6.
I'm glad that seals it
but
for you.
maybe more satisfying now, to be in fact.
I'm going up to a 9.5. From a 9. This
Okay.
is a top 5 all-time Disney movie for me, and on some days it's top 3. It's never number 1, and we talked about that somewhat during the Disney tournament bracket that we did, but man, I just love this movie, and even 2 mediocre to bad sequels didn't do anything to diminish that enjoyment. Even a admittedly very good and among the best Disney TV shows didn't really affect that at all. It kind of helped, if anything. The video game was fine, but just the original movie I could watch once a year probably and enjoy it just as much.
My uncle didn't like it, being Lebanese. Not enough AK-47s, no infidels. He had a big problem. He thought he was misadvertised.
But if this is set 900 years in the future, then it takes care of all those issues for him.
Well, right.
True.
I was like, Ammo, like, what do you want? Just like Jafar to just be carrying around like an automatic weapon? Would that have made you happy? And have no genie at all?
Right.
What if he did that stereotypical scream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he's waiting for.
That's what he wanted. And maybe that's the Lebanese version. I haven't watched the Lebanese version of Aladdin.
Fair point.
I've seen it in Spanish. It's not very good.
I think my uncle just wanted like a bunch of tanks to like roll over the cave in the beginning and then like the end of the movie. And to be like, this is what real Lebanon is like. I was like, this is an Agrabah, man.
Yeah, there's no wishes here. It's just destitution.
Shaun, you got to learn this now. There's no such thing as wish or a good ending. He's also Spanish.
Did you dug your way to the Cave of Wonders?
Can you have
Like,
dug
I feel
it?
like it, like you just dug into the sand and like it came from the sand. It was clearly underground.
It was magic, man.
Yeah, because I assume that the lion's face or whatever, the tiger, whatever the animal's face is underneath there and just eats you if you try.
Fair point. Okay.
Like he pops out of the ground to talk to people when they have the 2 scarabs, but when
Only
they don't,
with the scarab, yeah.
Yeah, but when they don't, he's still down there somewhere, and if you try and dig under, they just chomp.
No, and you know what? That's not even the issue. Like, I mean, he probably would eat you, but like it moves. It's not just like there.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I need the
The
scarabs.
scarab leads you there. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Shaun. You solved that problem for me.
It's a magical
9.5.
tomb,
Freaking welcome.
and Abu is the worst.
That'll be $50.
Yeah.
Our second item this week is another movie from the 90s. And in light of Vern Troyer passing, it seemed like an appropriate time to do something that's been on our list since the very beginning of this show as a potential item for this segment.
VeggieTales.
VeggieTales. Vern Troyer's classic voice acting as the tomato in VeggieTales.
Hell yeah.
What is with the VeggieTales thing? Like,
Who knows?
He just picks a weird tangent every week, and that's the thing he kind of like focuses on. You know, he needs that focus.
All right.
It's actually Austin Powers. And again, like in the case of Aladdin, we're only talking about the first one, which is good in my opinion because I don't like 2 and 3 as much as the first one. But Austin Powers, Then and Now. I believe this was 1997 or 8. So we have
7.
like I didn't actually watch this movie when I was that age because I would not have been allowed to. But I think I watched it when I was like 15, so a couple years after. So it still applies. Still definitely within the realm of childhood / growing up.
All right, Shaun, go. You
I
go first this time.
did not enjoy this as a kid. So I watched it like fairly young, and I was very sheltered. And I think I didn't get a lot of the jokes. I also was less on board with like, what is this? It's like farcical, like things that are happening in a comedy that could not actually possibly happen to anyone. So it's not like a super bad where it's like slice of life funny. This is like it's like a farce. You can't do it. And like as a kid, that bothered. I don't like that. So I didn't think it was funny, and it was not the type of humor that I thought was even good.
So this is like your problem with Airplane, where it's farcical.
Yes.
There
You
it
got to
is.
accept the ridiculousness, the outlandishness.
Yeah, but it's like it's so, you know what my problem is, Dave? Thank you, Dave. Here.
He's sitting up in his
Hold
seat
on.
to get really. Look at the
Reestablish.
posture. Everybody posture.
Here's
There
my
we go.
issue. And it's not to like insult. I don't mean it to be insulting,
But you are.
but it will probably come off as insulting. Airplane and like Scary Movie, it's so easy The jokes are so there's no effort at all. You don't even need to tie it to any sort of continuity. It's just
waiting for 4 years. You said you would write this 4 years ago, and you never did. You said you'd whip it up in a week, and you never did.
I could whip it up in a week, but it's too easy.
And you still haven't. It's been 4 more years.
It's too easy, so I haven't bothered yet. So clearly, I've talked about this on the show before.
Yes,
then
you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's too easy. It's like the South Park thing, making fun of Family Guy. How liberating it must be to just be able to make jokes in a vacuum and not have to tie them to any plot or give any context at all.
It works in an hour-and-a-half movie format. In a series, I totally agree with you because Family Guy, I can't stand it. But in an hour-and-a-half movie, it's just funny because you're not constrained by the story in that instance. If you know what you're getting into, then you're okay with it.
Here's another. So that's one. I also don't find puns very funny. So that's my other thing. The whole movie, I mean, maybe one joke was not a pun. The whole film.
I don't know. Who does number 2 work for was pretty freaking funny.
That's not entirely true, but there's a ton of puns.
There's a few.
Lot of puns. Yeah, I don't know. So we get back to Austin Powers, and there was some good. Everything with Dr. Evil was great.
Mm-hmm.
Everything with not Dr. Evil was shit. And that's kind of
Number
how
2
I
was-
look back on that movie.
Mm.
But
I
what
thought
I'm
it
going
was
to tell
good.
you later is going to make you sick.
It's my favorite movie. I love
of all
it.
time.
So
All
my
right,
score
let's
is like
go back
a
then.
5.5, I would say back then.
Okay. So I had a little bit of that where I was a little bit too young to watch it and fully understand it. At that time, my parents were strange in that sense that they let me watch a lot of movies that I maybe shouldn't have back then. So I remember actually watching with this with them when I was like 14. And there's that one scene where they're in the hot tub, and Austin Powers said something along the lines of, in Japan, men come first and women come second. And then he goes, and sometimes not at all. And my parents laughed really hard, and I just looked at them like, what the hell's so funny? Like, I don't get it. And so I get it now, but there was definitely a few jokes that went over my head back then. But there were some other scenes that I really liked because I liked the absurdity. So, like I said, the who does number 2 work for was just funny because it was dumb. Because you just imagine from someone else's perspective just hearing this, like someone flushing and a fight happening in a bathroom stall. It was just funny. So back then I probably would have given it a 7.
I think back then I liked different things about it than I do now. I got different humor out of it. As you just said, some of the things were lost to me at 14 or 15, I think I was when I saw this. So there were some things that I was just never going to get. There are also a few things that have held up that I liked then and still like now. Pretty much everything Scott does I find to be funny because he's the one character in this world who's pointing out the bullshit that nobody else sees.
Yep.
So I liked that back then. I love that now. That kind of stuff is what always gets me in comedies like this, where there's one character who's like, what the hell? Why doesn't anybody
don't you
else
just
see
shoot him?
this? I see this. Even the stupid, like, evil petting zoo exchange that he has with Dr. Evil is still one of my favorites. He's like, I just want to work in a petting zoo. And he's like, an evil petting zoo? He's like, you always do that.
The best thing he did was definitely they're going to tie him over the thing with the sharks with laser beams or the sea bass with laser beams on their heads. And it's like, well, why don't we just shoot them together? It'll be fun. No, I'm just going to put them in a dark room and assume that it works. That's totally fine, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's playing against the trope, but still, it's very effective.
It was very funny.
There are other things, again, some of the litany of puns, some of them are just, like, groan-worthy. And, I don't know, there are times where it feels like they take the easy route when they didn't necessarily have to. They could have concocted a more elaborate scene and maybe gotten bigger laughs out of it. And then there's moments where a guy gets run over by a steamroller after 45 seconds, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm happy it's
That's
this stupid.
my favorite scene of the whole film.
Move!
Just
out of the way!
Just step to the left.
So I don't know. I'm torn. And now, again, I won't talk about now, but like back then, there were enough stupid moments and highbrow moments that I did get that I enjoyed. It wasn't like my favorite or anything, but I definitely remember having a good impression of it. So I think back then would be a 7.
All right. So far not in.
So far not in. But the only score that matters for Time Capsule is now.
So I've only watched this once, and it was when I was a kid, and I don't remember it that well. So like I can't even compare like jokes that I didn't get. I'm sure there was a lot of them. I'm sure the hot tub one. There's no way I got that as a kid. So
No, not a chance.
So with that said, I watched the second and third one when I was a little bit older. I rented the second one, and then I watched the third one in theaters. That was like, I was hooked by this point.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the second and third one so much more than I remembered liking the first one.
You need to go back
Especially
and
the
watch
third one. I love the third one.
Third one was not bad. I agree with you.
The second one, I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember the evil family was on a talk show. I don't remember which
I
one.
think it was Jerry Springer.
Probably Jerry Springer,
I'm sure it was, yeah. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever. So this is cheating a little bit, but because I like the other one so much when I was a little bit older, I will give the first one a 7 now.
All right, so it goes up.
Yeah, a little bit.
For me, I feel like my humor obviously hasn't matured a lot because I still laugh at a lot of the jokes, the kind of the dumb jokes. Like the steamroller scene just gets me to this day. I don't know why. When he's trying to get the steamroller out of that thin hallway and he backs it up and then moves forward and then somehow gets perpendicular to the hallway. I don't know why, it still makes me laugh. The blackjack scene where he's playing blackjack and has 6 and goes, "I'll stay." That you have a 6, sir.
Yeah.
I also like to live dangerously. It cracks me up.
No. So stupid.
I know, it's so dumb. But I like the dumb humor. I like the absurdist humor. So even now watching it, because I get a lot more of the jokes and I still like the dumb jokes, I would give it 8.5. 8.
Mine goes up. So it's actually going to go in the capsule, which I didn't necessarily think it was going to.
Wow.
'Cause mine can only go up from a 7, which means the average is going to be at least a 7.5. I'm going to go up to an 8. I can't go much higher than that because, again, there are still parts of the movie where I just can't help but roll my eyes. And there's a few, 5-minute lulls where nothing really lands with me. But there are some parts that I just think hold up super well. And now that as I'm older, I've seen a lot more of just the Bond movies and other spy movies in general to get a sense of what they were lampooning and how stupid some of those things are on the surface. For them to take them and make fun of them in a dumb way is really more of a speaking it to how dumb the original source content was, and not necessarily a reflection of their level of intelligence about it. So there's just a lot I like about it. I don't love the second one. That's probably like a 6 or a 6.5 to me. I do like the third one more than the second one. But the first one to me is my favorite. It's also like peak Elizabeth Hurley hotness, although that was 20 years ago, so that's kind of sad now. But I would give it an 8, which means it has an average of 7.6, and it goes in the time capsule.
So I could even give it a 6.5, and it would still make it in.
If you want to revise it, yes.
I would like to give it a 6.5.
I will allow you to do that. If you were going to revise it to a 3, so it wouldn't go in the time capsule, I would consider that below ground.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, Elizabeth Hurley was a fembot the whole time, The second one confirmed that.
We didn't know that until the second movie, though. And then you got Elizabeth Graham instead, so, I mean...
Yeah. Heather Graham.
Heather Graham, yeah. Elizabeth Hurley.
So there was the funniest thing that happened in the second one, I will say, was there's the whole time travel aspect to it. So there was the scene where Austin Powers sees all the henchmen and shoots them all with his little gun, picks them all off one by one. He goes back in time and sees himself doing it again and points at each of the guys that he's shooting them, because the bad guys can't hit him with the gun, obviously, but his little tiny gun can pick off each individual one. It was just funny the way he's like, "Yep, got him." It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was funny.
I'll tell you, in a early internet wasteland, among the early things that I could find on any of the file sharing programs back then, like Napster in particular, was little clips of Austin Powers. So among the things that I was able to first get, because even then, music was just getting started on it, was little clips of this movie and a couple others that I liked from back then. And I don't know why, but it was funny to hear this, the scene. So I had that on my computer, and it was a thing I could do.
Your name on it.
Yeah, late 90s with very few options and limited hard drive space, that was a big deal back then, and now it looks very, very dumb.
It almost hurts my score, but it doesn't. But you wonder, what the hell happened, Mike Myers? You were
I think that
good for
that
a
brand
while.
of comedy just went away. Adam Sandler, Chris Farley. Chris Farley died, but that doesn't help.
Okay.
I feel it would have gone away anyway. David Spade. That whole brand of comedy went away.
I totally disagree, though, because I can still go and watch Happy Madison, and I think it's great, and I still think it's funny. Don't
Happy Gilmore.
Whatever.
Billy
Happy
Madison.
Madison's the company, right?
It might be actually. I think you're right.
Whatever.
It
Anyways,
might be the portmanteau, whatever. Yeah.
Happy Gilmore is great.
Yes,
Waterboy's still pretty funny. I think the shtick is it's a little old now.
I actually went and watched that again recently, and I some parts are still funny, but I did not have as favorable of an impression of it.
It's I'm just saying, that type of movie could not be made today and it would get good reviews. I don't think.
There are some jokes in the original Austin Powers that probably don't fly in 2018.
Oh yeah.
I still did. I think we're conflating things. I think you're associating that type of humor with just a bunch of shitty movies that have got like Adam Sandler. Okay, maybe Waterboy's not as funny as you remembered it. His latest movie, like the West one, it was just bad. It wasn't even like that it was offensive. It didn't make me laugh once. Not even like a little bit amused. It was nothing.
I don't know. Maybe you have to watch his Netflix movie and see if it was any good.
That's the one I was talking about.
Oh, sorry. But there's a new series or something like that he's coming out with, right?
I don't know if follow Adam Sandler's
See,
career.
you know my pop culture is not strong, so.
Yeah.
Oh, is it not?
That wasn't funny either, Adam Sandler. That wasn't very funny.
See, if you watch the YouTube channel, you can see the looks they gave each other. They were not loving.
It was pretty funny. Blurry now. I was so funny.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, you knocked yourself out of focus.
Yeah.
Anyways, so both make it in the time capsule. Both Aladdin and the original Austin Powers are inside the time capsule for people to enjoy in the dystopian future where Aladdin actually exists.
This thing's getting full, isn't it?
Kind of.
Here's the thing, though. We want to choose things that at least have a chance.
Yeah. In the beginning, we picked some utter shit.
Yeah.
And they got 4s, and we went, well, we spent 15 minutes talking about nothing.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I think it's more interesting when they at least have a chance, and then one of us can surprise the other by saying, like, they absolutely hate something that they thought they would have loved.
Yeah, or
and
love.
then it's fun.
Yeah. I didn't know if Austin Powers would make it. I thought it was going to be hovering around the 6.5 to 7.5 range, which is right on the border of being in, so I'm a little surprised. Alrighty, well, that's the end of another episode. Dave has taken his headphones off and is leaving me because they died.
Yep, my wireless headphones died. So good timing, guys.
That was very smooth. The listeners may not have any idea. The video people definitely, they saw. They know.
He didn't even hear all the horrible things I said about him. And
I was
family.
out for like a second.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Dave may be returning in the future. We will see and talk about that off air, but there is definitely the capability, so we'll see. Maybe Michelle would kill him if he came back on. I don't know. They used to be best friends, but now it's not so sure.
We should do a thing where they compete, and you and I sit there and judge.
Yeah. For our love, yeah.
That would be cool. But I also want to play. But I'm in automatically.
So you want to play and beat them, but you also want them to be just spending their time competing for your love. Which is probably why they would lose, because they wouldn't actually be trying to win.
Precisely. Yeah, but they would just be trying to get your love at least.
My love is hard to get.
Dave, that's all he has been yearning for probably 2 decades now.
My love?
I just want Chris to love me. Love my little stupid ginger muffin top face. And it's just never happened. Your beard is... I don't know. Something about the headphones is like really accentuating it right now.
It's kind of... This is definitely not my normal color. It's a lot darker than this normally. Just the overhead light is not helping.
Well, as we've noticed from some episodes of the Anachronism, which is on our YouTube channel, that there were episodes where I had a different camera on Shaun. He looked very red.
You look like a lumberjack who like fell in a Cheeto bag.
A hot flamin' hot Cheetos bag, right?
Yes, of course. The worst kind of Cheetos.
Yes.
Absolutely the worst kind. Those will never go in the time capsule.
No, 2 out of 10 would not eat.
0 out of 10. I hate those things.
Yeah, they're about as shitty as ASU.
Can I flip them off on screen? Is that?
I don't care. Yeah, I don't think YouTube has standards.
We don't know. We can do anything.
Sure, coming off again. All right. Any last words, Dave, before we say goodbye?
I really actually enjoyed being on camera so I can see you guys, and Shaun's face makes me want to punch him, but it's all out of love, buddy.
Shaun just nods knowingly, gives him the okay sign. Yeah.
Peace among worlds.
Yeah.
That's a Rick and Morty reference.
Show me what you got. I don't get it. That's the end of this episode. In between shows, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com. On social media, we are at Team Objection. That's Facebook and Twitter. The YouTube channel, where the podcast is being uploaded now, as well as our D&D series and video games 5 days a week. That's at youtube.com/objectionnetwork. And finally, you can send emails to the show to objectionnetwork@gmail.com. See you next time.